Okay, we're now on the record. This is the Kentucky Public Service Commission. My name is Michael Schmidt. I'm chairman of the commission. Seated to my right is Vice Chairman Robert Cicero. If anyone has a cell phone, please either turn it off or turn it to vibrate. Otherwise, it will come out on the video and may disturb the hearing. Restrooms are out in the hall. Ladies to the right, men to the left. If someone needs to leave, as I've said this all the time, Mr. Atkins knows, make sure you tell the receptionist, because if she leaves her desk or turns around, you may not be able to get back in since the doors are now locked. The nature of the hearing today is for the purpose of taking evidence in case number 2016-00434, Shelby Energy Cooperative's application for an increase in retail rates. Will counsel for Shelby Energy Electric Cooperative please identify himself, his client, and those who are with him here today?
Yes, Your Honor. My name is Don Prather. I represent Shelby Energy Cooperative, Inc. With me today is Debbie Martin, our President and CEO. Also Jim Atkins. They will be our testifying witnesses. And also with us is Jared Ruth, who is Senior Vice President of Finance and Cooperative Services, who will not testify unless we decide to throw him under the bus.
Okay, thank you. That must be real comforting.
I've been kidding him for some time, Your Honor.
Would staff counsel please identify himself and those with him today?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm Jeb Penny with the Office of General Counsel for the Public Service Commission. Co-counsel today is John Park, and also from the Department of Financial Analysis, Jim Livers and Chris Whalen.
Okay, thank you. I've checked the record this morning before coming down, and I note that for the record that publication of the hearing today has been provided, notice of public hearing, and the affidavit and the proof of publication has been filed in the record. There are also at least 2 and perhaps 3 motions for confidential treatment which have not been ruled upon, so they will be ruled upon at some point in time after the hearing. But if during the course of the hearing there's a document which contains information, Mr. Prather, which you believe is confidential, or something is about to be said, if you would please let me know, then we will go into confidential session and off the public record so as to protect your client's motion for confidentiality. Okay? At this time, Mr. Prather, do you have any other motions or anything else you'd like to bring to the attention of the Commission before we start?
Not at this point, Your Honor.
Staff, anything to bring before the Commission?
No, Your Honor.
At this time, if there's any member of the public present who would like to make a comment on the record or provide a written statement to be filed in the record, please step forward now. Provide your name and address and let us know of any comment that you have. There being no one here, we will now move forward with the hearing. Mr. Prather and Mr. Penny, do either of you have any documents which haven't been introduced into the record so far which you plan on using? The reason I ask is that we can mark them and exchange them at this time if there are any.
Your Honor, we have one that may come into play. Just depends on how the hearing goes. We've shown it to Mr. Penny, and we've got it already pre-marked if it comes out.
Okay, and do you have extra copies
We
for
have extra copies.
Mr.
Yes, sir.
Cicero and myself? All right,
Yes, sir.
then we'll just wait, and if you need to use it, we can take care of it at that time. All right, Mr. Prather, you may call your first witness.
Your Honor, Shelby Energy calls Debbie Martin.
Thank you. Ms. Martin, will you please take the stand? Will you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You may be seated. Mr. Prather, you may ask.
Thank you, Your Honor. What is your name, please?
Deborah J. Martin,
And what is your position at Shelby Energy?
President and CEO,
How long have you been in that position?
since January 1st of 2007,
How long have you been employed at Shelby Energy?
since May 1st, 1989.
What is your educational background?
I have a bachelor's in business administration with a minor in business management.
Ms. Martin, did you cause to be filed certain pretrial testimony and certain responses to information requested by the Commission staff in this proceeding?
Yes, I did.
Do you today have any corrections or changes to make to either this testimony or any of the responses you gave to those staff information requests?
No, I do not.
If you were asked the same questions today that you were previously asked in both the pretrial testimony and information requests, would your responses today on the witness stand be the same?
Yes, they would.
Do you fully reaffirm your testimony and the responses to the staff information requests for which you have previously been responsible for in this case?
Yes.
I pass the witness for cross-examination.
Mr. Penny, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, counsel. The first question I have refers to a discrepancy in two exhibits. Do you have copies of the case file with you?
Yes, I do.
I will first direct you to Exhibit 3-1C, which was, you are the responding witness for it. That is the Shelby Energy's third response to Commission staff data request.
Okay.
And at the same time, if you could please refer to Exhibit 2-28G, which is Shelby Energy's response to Commission staff's second data request. And although Mr. Adkins is listed as a responding witness, I think that they refer to the same material.
Your Honor, if I may, Exhibit 3-1C is one of the documents for which confidentiality has been requested.
Mr. Penny, would you take a look and let us know if there's anything there? We could take a short break and Mr. Prather, you and Mr. Penny could look over the document if you'd like, because we want to make sure that.
May I insert that not all of it is confidential, only certain pages?
I believe the information that I would be asking would be not confidential. It is my intention not to ask any questions referring specifically to confidential material. I'm referring specifically to page 1 of 4 for Exhibit 3-1C, and it will be page 1 of 7 of Exhibit 2-28G. Neither of those, according to the petition for confidential treatment, have been requested to be treated as confidential.
That is correct.
Okay. Then hopefully my inquiry doesn't go any
apologize.
further. Better to be safe than sorry. Ms. Martin, let me know when you're there.
I'm there.
Okay. If you would please take a look. These both deal with the payroll adjustments from 2012 through 2016. And in the response for 3-1C versus the response in Exhibit 2-28G, the numbers are not the same for the years. If you would please take a look.
Are you referring to the percentages of increase?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Yes, the percentage increase.
Yes, I see that, and what has happened is 3-1C is accurate, and 2-28G, page number 1, the years have been listed incorrectly, applying to the percentages.
Okay, and just to be clear, so when Commission staff looks at this and the Commission reviews this, then Exhibit 3-1C is the accurate information, and we should disregard that in 2-28G.
That's correct.
Right, thank you. Please refer to the response to staff's second request, item 5.
Okay.
And that's where Shelby Energy states that it is compliant with its tier and O-tier mortgage covenants through the end of 2016. Based on year-to-date actual results and budgeted results for the remainder of the year, does Shelby Energy believe it will be compliant with all of its mortgage covenants regarding tier, O-tier, and debt service coverage ratio through 2017?
No, sir, we do not feel we will be.
And do you think, is Shelby Energy still of the opinion that the proposed three-phase increase is the best way to achieve its financial goals?
Yes, sir, we do.
I refer back to your previous response that Shelby Energy will not be in compliance with its mortgage covenants. What steps would be necessary to make it compliant with its tier, O-tier, and debt ratio?
The only thing that could take place is if our revenue increased, mostly to our residential, And if we made the decision to cut back right away to the point that it would let us squeak by and make margins. I can't think of anything else that we could take action on that at this point that would permit us to make tier.
And when you say cut back right away, you mean cut back on the spending of right away,
That's
not
correct.
cutting of right away. Okay, thank you. Would Shelby Energy be opposed to a one-step rate increase rather than a three-phase rate increase?
We would prefer not doing that just because of the burden it puts on our members. But of course, that would be your all's decision to make. The reason we chose the phase-in is so that it doesn't put so much burden on the members at one time.
I understand that, but would a one-time increase, a one-phase increase, alleviate the concerns regarding the tier, O-tier, and debt ratio?
I do not think it will relieve it for 2007 because I don't think we can get it implemented in a manner that will allow us to collect enough revenue to do so.
And you said 2007, but did you mean 2017?
2017, yes.
Thank you. We knew, but just for the record. Please refer to the response to staff's second request, item 42, regarding the annualized cost of long-term debt.
I'm there.
Thank you. And can you confirm that the annualized cost of debt is $1,578,738 as of the date of the response to the data request?
Yes.
And are you aware of any variable rate debt rates have changed since the date of the response to the second request?
I'm sure there have been, but I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Okay. Would you please, in the form of a post-hearing data request, provide an updated schedule of the outstanding long-term debt showing the current annualized cost?
Yes.
Thank you. Refer to the application, Exhibit 1, please. And also, at the same time, will be this response to staff second's request 28 and third request, items 1, 2, and 4. It deals with payroll adjustments and wage increases. I'm not going to be asking specific questions about numbers, so we don't have to worry about coming up on any confidential information, I believe.
Yes, sir.
And could you briefly explain Shelby's wage and salary plans for union and non-union employees?
For the union employees, we have a contract, and it's a 3-year contract. It will phase out in 2018. For the non-union, we have a wage and salary plan where we actually look at the performance of the employee. We put together a performance plan on an annual basis, and it's based on merit and performance.
And then in 2018, for the union contract, will that then be renegotiated?
Yes, it will.
Can you confirm that Shelby's 2017 payroll increase for union and non-union was 2.93% and 2.04% respectively?
Say that again.
For the 2017 payroll, can you confirm that the union percentage increase would be 2.93% and the non-union 2.04%?
Yes, sir.
And is there an explanation why the annual payroll increase for non-union employees was significantly more than those for the union employees from 2012 through 2016?
The union employees have a contract, and it's locked in. Based on our hiring and placing people in leadership positions or them transitioning to the market rate, which is the midpoint, some of the rate increases may be more than the base rate that was approved. For example, if you've got a manager who has come in and has a year or 2 years or 3 years, in order to bring them up to market within a 3 to 5 year period, their increase may be more than the base rate that was approved.
And by rate, you mean salary?
Yes, I'm talking about the rate of whether it's 2% or 3%. They may
Right.
get more than that.
And I apologize, when you say rates, I start thinking about what
Sorry.
Shelby and Joe. No,
Sorry.
that's my problem, not yours. Can you explain the reason why the trends changed in 2017 when the union employees started to receive a larger increase than the non-union?
If I recall correctly, I think the first year it was a lower percentage that had been agreed to, and the last 2 years was a higher percentage for the union. We had some changes on the non-union side that decreased the amount of percentage that was, our wages were increased.
And are both the union and non-union salaries based on current market information at the time they are granted? Well, with the exception that I understand the union operates under a contract.
Right. We do not do a market study. However, we do compare through our HR consultant if our wages are in line with other jobs of the same sort in the region.
And would that take into account the difference in payroll increases between union and non-union employees from 2012 through 2017?
We look at the market every year for the non-union employees. But the difference is that we have different people at different levels on the non-union basis that are growing into their jobs or just starting. So some people are going to get more increases than the others, depending on how far away they are from the midpoint. So that will make more of a percentage increase for the non-union than for the union employees.
So in a given year, if you add more non-union employees that are below the midpoint, if you bring them up to the midpoint, that might skew the increase versus
That's correct. And you may not bring them up to the midpoint all in 1 year. It may be transitional. If they happen to be 20% below the midpoint, you may do it on a 5% basis, depending on where they are at their skill level and building up to where they need to be based on their job description.
Could Shelby Energy provide an update to its payroll and payroll tax adjustments using the 2017 payroll increase?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like that I think in the form of a post-hearing data request. Okay, please refer to the response to staff's third request, item 8. And this regards rate case expenses.
Yes, sir.
And the commission would like, in the form of a post-hearing data request response, an update to Shelby's rate case expenses, including any documentation that's not already included in the record.
Yes, sir. Our revenue month ends on the 15th of each month, so today we're actually starting to close out the month of May. So it runs behind just a little bit because of that.
Okay. Please refer to the response to staff's third request, item 10, regarding vegetation management plan.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain Shelby Energy's future plans with regard to vegetation management?
Our plans are to put it on a 5-year rotation and cut so many miles and spray so many miles on an annual basis to maintain our right-of-way.
And any idea how many miles per year?
Yes, sir. It's provided in the schedule. Exhibit 10D, page 2 of 2.
All right.
We have it broken up into 5 different sections. And when you look at those sections, it's approximately 350 to 360 at the most on an annual basis.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And referring to staff's third request, item 20, addressing employee benefits.
Yes, sir.
And so for a post-hearing data request regarding this, I'd like Shelby Energy to answer the following question. Assuming that the total cost of health insurance for non-union employees is the sum of the premium paid by the employee and the premium paid by Shelby, also assume that employees with single coverage would pay 21% of the total cost, and that for other types of coverage, the employee would pay 32% of the total cost. We'll ask Shelby Energy to provide the adjustment to the test year that would result based on the assumptions listed above. And so we'll provide this in writing after the fact, just to give you fair warning.
Is that different from the information we've already provided? 3-20, page 1 of 1. I thought we had done that already unless it's a little different.
It'll be a little bit different because the
Okay.
deductible will be included. Can you confirm, referring to the exhibit, that the test year amount for life insurance paid by Shelby for coverage over $50,000 is $6,243?
Are you referring to a particular page?
I believe it's to staff's third. It's in staff's third request, item 20. I do not have a particular page number.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And then, can you confirm the test year amount for the matching 401k for the employees that are under the NRECA RNS plan is $24,046?
Yes, sir, that's right.
Okay. And in case number 2012-00102, the Commission approved a regulatory asset associated with Shelby's retirement of old meters following the implementation of its AMI project. The regulatory asset was to be amortized over a 5-year period beginning in 2011 in the amount of $88,712.55. Is there any amortization expense related to the regulatory asset in the test year for this case?
No, sir.
Thank you. Would you please refer to the response to staff's second request, item 51? This regards Shelby Energy Services.
Yes, sir.
Please refer to Exhibit 2-51H. And this is the profit and loss pages for Shelby Energy Services.
Yes, sir.
And I'll be referring to pages 2, 5, and 8. And on those pages, Shelby Propane's revenue is shown under income, the income heading at the top for years 2013 through 2015. Is that correct?
That's right.
Would you please take a look at page 12 of 12?
Yes, sir.
And this page shows the profit and loss for Shelby Energy Services for 2016.
That's correct.
But it shows no income for Shelby Propane for 2016. Is that correct?
No, it does not. It looks like it's possibly a monthly instead of an annual, so we can provide a new one.
Okay. We would appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
And then we'll ask that you provide any corrections as necessary for any of the other items in that. Do you know or can anticipate what the profit and loss for 2017 or in order for the next few years would be?
No, sir, I can't. Propane is influenced as we are by weather. I know that it's declined some, but I can't tell you off the top of my head. I could give you a budget figure if that would be helpful, but projecting ahead, I don't know.
Okay. I think that'd probably be taken care of in any updated financial statements relating to that. Thank you. And in the form of a post-hearing data request, we'll ask Shelby Energy to provide a financial statement for Shelby Energy for the most recent 12-month period.
Yes, sir.
And may I direct you to your direct testimony at page 4.
Yes, sir.
Could you please discuss what Shelby has done to lower or control costs?
I have a few items that I can run past you and discuss them. One of the things that we've done is we actually grandfathered the RNS plan back in 2009. So from 2010 to 2016, we have savings for that about $807,000 on an annual basis of $135,000. pardon me, I gave you the wrong information. It's a savings over 7 years of $706,000, and on an annual basis, $100,000.
Okay.
We also did a prepayment participation in 2013 with the RNS plan. So from 2014 through 2016, we have a savings of about $264,000, and on an annual basis, it's about $88,000. We've taken advantage of variable interest rates from 2012 to 2016, and over that 5-year period, we've saved about $1.2 million, and it came out to about $240,000 a year. We've refinanced loans twice in 2011 and 2016 for an overall savings of $1.8 million, and on an annual basis of about $51,000. We've also decreased the expense for write-offs. They have decreased about $190,000, which is a savings of $63,000 each year. And that was from 2014 to 2016. We've also transferred some employees internally, and we're saving about $35,000 to $40,000 a year rather than hiring. So overall, it's about $480,000 a year.
In savings?
Mm-hmm.
See, and so, Your Honor, we have no more further questions for Ms. Martin.
Commissioner
Actually,
Cicero?
I beg your pardon, I take that back. I have one question left for her. I apologize. Ms. Martin, would you please refer to Shelby Energy's response to Commission staff's second request for information, item 3?
Yes, sir.
Shelby has asked about its prepaid tariff, which shows both a monthly rate and a daily rate for the customer charge. And Shelby Energy stated that it charges the daily rate but includes the monthly rate in the tariff as an easy reference for members when reviewing the tariff. Would Shelby be opposed to showing only the daily rate in its prepaid tariff, since that is the rate changed by Shelby?
No, we would not.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Commissioner Cicero?
Good morning, Ms. Martin.
Good morning.
Can we go back to the discussion that staff asked regarding what management has done to implement savings?
Yes, sir.
We talked about refinancing loans. You increased your write-off expense. You prepaid your retirement plan expense. And you transferred employees rather than hiring new employees.
Yes.
So refinancing loans, that's a good low-hanging fruit item to pick for management. Prepaying the retirement expense it's basically a cash flow you're paying up front in order to avoid paying it in the future. So there's some savings involved, but
Sure.
when you increased your write-off expense, that's fine. What is transferring employees rather than hiring? Were you going to lay employees off?
Yes.
Out of what group would that have been out of?
Member services.
And what was the group that you needed to transfer them into that you would have had to hire for?
Billing and customer service.
Was there a retirement out of that group, or what caused billing and customer service to need additional people?
We have a district office, and it's a one-person office. And because of staffing there, we had a young lady that had a baby. And when she's out of the office, we have to pull someone from the Shelbyville office. If you have someone on vacation or someone becomes ill, during very busy times, you do not have enough people to serve the members at the front office.
So what was the savings associated with that?
About $35,000 to $40,000.
So in total, did you say $480,000 per year
Yes, sir.
for these programs? But there was no attempt to modify your salary or increase that you had planned just because you wanted to bring everybody up to market?
There was no modification because there is some history here. In 2009, we had 29 employees. When I became CEO, that was not enough employees to run our co-op. So we've been on a hiring phase for some time and a training phase of trying to bring people up to the knowledgeable level they need to be to perform the jobs. And normally, we may not have as many increases, but as you're trying to develop those employees and let them come close to market, not all of them are at market, you have to provide that incentive to keep them and continue to grow them with the investment you made for hiring them.
So there was 29 when you first took over your position.
Yes, sir.
What did it increase to?
We have 41 right now.
That's a pretty substantial increase. Over what period of time?
2009 till 2016. When I came to work at the co-op in 1989, we had 45 employees. We had cut back. We had done a lot of things to try to save money, and we were down to a level of staffing that once I became the CEO, we did not have people to take over in areas of the billing and the accounting, and we needed to bring people in order to run the co-op for the future.
So when you established that you needed additional bodies, you went out and started hiring, and you looked at market rates for the area, and I know you supplied a salary survey study.
Yes, sir.
I noticed in the salary survey study there was some adjustment modification that was made on one of them that's 1.03. I presume that's a 3% change on some of the data. I hesitate to.
I think that's correct.
But the increase that you referred to, staff has referred to for 2017 is 2.40?
04.
04. So the 3% was prior to the actual determination of what you were going to implement as far as salary increases?
The 3% was approved by the board, and then we looked at each employee and determined whether the 3% was viable. And we determined that not all employees got the 3%. Some may have gotten more, but when we looked at each employee and it shook out, it came up to 2.04 overall.
So you don't really establish a budget. When I look at 2016 and I see 1.93, which is that the correct number when you look at Exhibit 3-1C that was previously referred to?
It should be 2.04.
For 2016 or 2017?
It was approved in 2016, and it will apply to 2017.
Okay, so on the paper, the 1.93, that was 15 approved and issued in 2016?
No, it was approved in 16 and will apply to 17 in November. It was approved in November. But the 1.93 is incorrect. The attorney had quoted 2.04, and that's actually the correct percentage of increase.
Okay, so the 3.1C and 2-28G are both incorrect?
That's right.
Okay, well, at any rate, when we look at the percentages that are in the column under non-union for salary increases, your board doesn't approve a general increase. You go through a determination of what you believe each individual should receive and then take that to the board to approve that's why they're so specific in terms of the percentages?
Yes, sir. We go through an appraisal process and a performance plan process, and once we make a determination, we take that recommendation to the board so that they can see what's being applied and why, and then they approve it from there.
Thank you. So when I look at the confidential information, and it shows policy and it shows the wage and salary survey, I didn't really see how the performance of an employee was determined. I see how you determine different factors in terms of experience and education and things like that, but is there an actual performance and appraisal program with targets that each employee knows at the beginning of the year what they're supposed to achieve, and then those are reviewed with the employee throughout the year at the end of the year?
Yes, sir. We actually do the appraisal at the end of the year, and at that time, we develop a performance plan for the next year. And we review that with employees about mid-year and say, here are the 4 or 5 things that we wished for you to accomplish. And those things are tied into the strategic plan. And we meet probably July each year with each employee, and we talk about where they are in achieving those 4 or 5 things. And then we come back during the appraisal period, which is probably October, November, and we discuss again where they are in the performance plan, and we actually perform the appraisal on the employee. And that is used as a determination for the percent of increase in wages.
Who all falls under the performance and appraisal evaluation? Is it from your next level down, or, I mean, how,
It will be all non-union employees.
including yourself?
Yes, sir.
So as a post-hearing data request, could you send me an example of, say, the VP of operations and whoever your chief financial person is, what their performance and evaluation was, and under confidentiality, of course, and
Sure.
just to give us an example of the process and how they were graded?
Be glad to.
Thank you. Can you tell me what you said you're under a 3-year contract with the union,
Yes.
and the first year was 2016 of the latest agreement?
Yes.
So what is the,
I'm sorry, actually, it would be 2015.
so are you in the last year of your agreement now?
We'll be negotiating in September of 2018. I believe it was signed in September of 15,
Right?
and then it will end as of September 2nd of 2018.
So if I see in 2016 Union 2.93, in 2017 2.93, what is the increase projected for 2018, or that you've negotiated?
Well, it's a base 3%, but it's also included in the confidential information as part of the union contract when we submitted a
So
response.
staff has it?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I don't need you to do that then. You indicated that in order to reach tier and O tier, you would need to increase revenue through residential increased rates and a cut in the vegetation management program. Is that right?
Yes. I'm not certain that would pull it off, but yes, that's the things I can think of right now that we could possibly do to meet margins.
And really, those are the 2 big items that you're, in this rate application, are included. Basically a $500,000 cut to vegetation management, which you've apparently developed a program that you believe is adequate to address whatever vegetation management needs there are, and a revenue increase primarily through residential.
Yes, sir. And I can say I think it would absolutely be the wrong thing to cut the budget or using the funds for right-of-way. I feel like there needs to be a commitment that we've made to follow through on maintaining that right-of-way, getting it caught up, and putting it on the 5-year rotation.
Let's go back to the retirement plan.
Yes, sir.
We talked about prepaying in order to save money, and you grandfathered the plan beginning in 2007 or 9, I forget which.
We approved it in 9, and it actually took effect January 2010.
You grandfathered those employees into what's basically a defined dollar benefit plan, which seems to be a common occurrence. But you're also permitting those employees to participate in a 401k salary savings plan company match?
That's correct.
And if there is this financial need, why, that seems to be a double dip in the retirement cost by permitting someone to not only receive a defined dollar benefit retirement plan benefit that they contribute nothing to, and also allow them to contribute into a 401k that the company matches. Wouldn't that be an issue that executive management would say, wow, we're in this tight budget crunch, we need to look at every possible way to reduce costs? Why wouldn't that be considered?
I wish I could give you an answer to that. That's a plan that has existed for a long period of time, that the employee put in 1% and the co-op matched 2%, and then they didn't put in any more. But it will be something, based on the hearings I've listened to and your question here today, that we will certainly take to our board and discuss.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't think I have anything else, but let me look here real quick.
Please don't look too hard.
I think it's been informative, and hopefully you haven't been under too much pressure.
It has been.
I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have no questions. Mr. Prather, any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, please. And please forgive me if I stumble a little bit, because I was taking notes that were rather hurried and it may take me a minute to decipher them. Let's see. Ms. Martin, there was a question regarding the union and the non-union pay raises and the difference in those. Actually, this is regarding the non-union only. I'll get to that other in a second. You testified that the non-union raises were based partly on performance and then also partly on merit and the market analysis. Was there any local wages that were considered in the market analysis of an appropriate wage level?
Yes, it's from the area from which we get candidates, the surrounding Louisville, Lexington, that area.
So Shelby Energy actually competes for employees in the Louisville area?
Most certainly, yes.
There was a question regarding the larger non-union wage increase for a period of years, 2012 to 2015, I believe, and you testified as to one factor. Is there any difference in the expense of a union employee versus a non-union employee that might contribute to that?
Yes, sir. It's more expensive to have a union employee than a non-union employee. And the reason being that you run the risk when you sign a contract that you're locking yourself in on increases, you're locking yourself in on other benefits that are associated with that. Also, you have the negotiations that take place for the contract. You have the dealing with the grievances and the cost for an attorney, because whether they're involved in the negotiations, they still have to review the contract.
Okay. I believe you testified that the union raises are set in a 3-year contract, and so those can't be changed during that 3-year period?
That's correct.
Is there an element of risk for non-union employees as to the amount of raise which they might or might not receive?
Yes, there is.
So if the co-op had a bad year, they might not receive as much of a raise as in a good year.
That's correct. We have had, I'm thinking maybe 2 years that I did not accept a raise, and there was 1 year that employees did not receive a raise. Prior to 2010, I believe it was 2009.
With respect to right-of-way management costs, do you expect those costs to decrease in the future?
That's the plan based on the information we're getting from the contractors and to others who have initiated an actual right-of-way plan. Because we've had such growth over the past few years, the weather patterns have encouraged that. It's fairly costly trying to catch up on those things that are overgrown. And we're hoping as we go out at the end of that 5 years, that cost is going to decline so that we can better budget and know what it is going to cost. Because it is fairly expensive. It's fairly expensive regardless, but it's more expensive per mile now than we expect it to be, even including any growth or increase that there may be by the contractor in 5 years from now. We're hoping that cost per mile will go down.
Did Shelby Energy employees experience any safety implications of the previous right-of-way cutting problems?
Yes, because we could not keep up with the right-of-way, we would have our line technicians come in on a regular basis and talk about it being so overgrown that many times they could not replace the line where it had fallen down or something had happened until they actually trimmed right-of-way themselves to get it out of the way to restore service.
Ms. Martin, just to correct any possible confusion, I refer you to Exhibit 3-1C, page 1 of Shelby Energy's third response to the Commission staff data request. That's Exhibit 3-1C, page 1.
Yes, sir.
The wage and salary increases that are listed on that page, are they correct?
No, sir. The increases for 2016, the union should be 2.93, the non-union should be 2.04.
I believe at this time, Your Honor, it would be appropriate for us to introduce an exhibit into the record. Please, do you have those, Ms.? Oh, here they are. Okay. May I approach the bench, Your Honor?
You may.
I don't need one. Well, I've got one that's got a clip on it that's not marked with an exhibit.
Are these positions? This is just the first page. Thank you. Yes. Ms. Martin, could you identify what has been marked as Shelby Energy Cooperative Exhibit Number 1, please?
Yes, it's information from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that shows percentages that are paid by employers and employees on medical premiums.
Are you aware of this Commission's orders in recent rural electric cooperative cases dealing with the percentage of medical insurance premiums which should be paid by the cooperative's employees?
Yes, sir.
And could you summarize those rulings, please?
Generally, the Commission has stated that they prefer the cooperatives not put as much contribution toward the medical health plans as payment and expect the employees to pay more of that cost.
Do you agree with the Commission's position on this issue?
I don't necessarily agree. I understand it, but I don't agree. I think it is somewhat high when you look at this information and compare it to the data at the bottom on specific industries.
Is there a set of figures on Shelby Energy Cooperative Exhibit 1 that you would consider more appropriate for the Commission to use, assuming that the Commission is going to establish a percentage?
Yes, sir. If you look at the bottom where it says service providing industries and it's marked utilities, highlighted in yellow, It shows the employee share at 16% versus 21, which is at the top, and for single coverage, and for family coverage, it's at 23% versus 32.
Ms. Martin, if a choice is made between increased wages or increased fringe benefits, such as medical insurance premiums, which of these two is more economically beneficial to the employee and why?
Certainly the benefit is more economical because they do not have to pay taxes. The tax range is from 29.65% to 39.65% based on payroll taxes. And depending on which tax bracket you're in would determine which range you fall in there.
Have you had any personal experience in choosing between salary amount and fringe benefits?
Yes, I came to the co-op after 15 years of banking. I was going to school at night, and you know what rates were for loans back in the 1980s. I was borrowing money to go to school, and I applied for a job at the co-op, and I took a significant decrease in pay in order to come there because they would support me on getting my education.
Does a cooperative save any money if employee compensation is paid in the form of a fringe benefit versus increased wages?
Yes, the co-op would save about 16%, over 16% in taxes.
I was going to say, where does that savings come from?
In
Payroll taxes?
Yes.
And unemployment insurance?
That would be everything grouped together on payroll taxes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Penny?
Yes, Your Honor, just a few questions. In the form of a post-hearing data request, the Commission staff would like Shelby Energy to provide a corrected payroll adjustment sheet, but also include any anticipated increases for 2017 or through 2018 if that's necessary,
For
or if
payroll?
that's possible. So we'll get it to you in writing.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And also probably in the form of a post-hearing data request, you were just discussing lower percentages of employee contribution to insurance plans. And I believe you stated that those were in Exhibit 1 to the application. Is that correct?
Say that again.
Or the exhibit, sorry, not Exhibit 1 to the application, the exhibit that was just handed out here.
Yes, sir.
In the form of a post-hearing data request, would Shelby Energy be able to provide the adjustments to the test year, assuming the Commission were to accept those percentages that are the 16% for single coverage and the 23%?
Yes, we will.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Cicero?
So just to clarify,
Yes, sir.
you said that it's a better benefit to the employee if they receive the benefit itself rather than an increase in salary.
If you're looking at from a tax savings, yes. If I give you $12,000 and an increase in your wages, you're going to pay whatever tax range you fall in. If it happens to be a benefit that's not taxable, you do not pay those taxes.
But if I provide an increase in salary and I require you to contribute to your benefit and it happens to be health care, that's a pre-tax benefit, which means that your taxes are reduced on your salary side because you are enjoying the benefit of the pre-tax deduction.
That's correct.
Really, isn't there kind of a wash there between the two?
Most likely, yes.
Okay. And I know that you indicated that when you first started with the co-op that the benefits were an enticing factor rather than the salary, but we've already heard that you are now paying market rate to your employees. So from the perspective of salary versus benefit, they are receiving a competitive market-based salary, and the benefits may be above market depending on who you talk to. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
So let's go back to my question previously when we talked about when you first started increasing the number of employees, you were at a 29 employee level and you're now at 41.
Yes, sir.
So over what period of time would you say that the number of employees declined to the point where it was jeopardizing the operations of the co-op until it came back up to where it is now?
Probably from 1998 to early 2000.
Is when the decline occurred?
It started to occur, yes. As people retired, we would take on more duties. I can give you myself as an example. When people retired, I took over billing. When we had another lady retire, I took over accounting. When another person retired, I took over HR. So those types of things through attrition, we did not really lay off anyone or dismiss anyone, but just natural attrition through retirement or people moving on to different jobs.
Okay. As opposed to hearing data requests, and I'll make sure that they get this in writing for what I'm looking for. Can you start in 1998 through 2017, provide the number of employees by union and by salary, the revenue for each of those years, and the revenue generated per employee? Okay? And I think that would do it.
And I'm not for sure if you're aware of this, but we did have a management audit in 2008, 2009, and we were pretty much ordered to increase our staff, and that's why.
And that's fine. I'm just looking to see the trend and
Sure.
how I understand that there's not a lot of organic growth in the utility industry these days in terms of new customers. So I understand there's pressures on everyone. I'm just trying to get a feel for how the flow is.
I will share that we converted computer systems in 2002 for us to go back and get employment data, but prior to that, it would be somewhat difficult for us to do that. We can get total salaries, but by individual data,
I'm not looking for salary info. I'm only looking for the number of bodies.
okay, I've got
So
you.
the number of salaried bodies, the number of union personnel, people, not salary dollars. I'm not interested in the salary dollars. Just the number of actual people over that period of time, so I can see the decline and the increase, and what the revenue was across those years, and the dollars per employee revenue generated.
Okay, I understand.
So that should be a fairly easy
Okay.
calculation, I think. I have no other questions.
Mr. Prather?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Shannon?
Just one question. Referring to the benefits and the salary, if the tax treatment for benefits, especially health insurance, were to change, that would change the calculus.
Oh, yes.
All right. No further questions, Your Honor.
If there isn't anything else, so you may stand down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Prather, you may call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, before we do, you'd like this introduced, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Then let Shelby Energy's Exhibit Number 1 be introduced.
Thank you, Your Honor. Shelby Energy calls Jim Atkins to the stand.
Mr. Atkins, do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir. I
Thank you. You may be seated, and Mr. Prather, you may ask.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you please state your name for the record?
My name is James R. Adkins.
What is your educational background?
I have an undergraduate degree from the University of Kentucky in finance and a master's degree in accounting.
How are you employed, Mr.
I'm
Atkins?
self-employed utility rate consultant.
Could you describe for the commission your experience in the electric industry?
Yes, sir. I spent 25 years as the pricing manager for East Kentucky Power Cooperative, and since then I have been self-employed rate consultant, and that exceeds 10 years.
Would it be a fair statement that you have testified in the past before this commission many times?
Yes, sir, I have.
And what types of cases have you testified in, please?
Adjustment clauses and general rate cases for East Kentucky and distribution cooperatives throughout the state of Kentucky that are regulated.
Mr. Atkins, did you cause to be filed certain pre-trial testimony and certain responses to information requests by the commission staff in this proceeding?
Yes, sir, I did.
Do you today have any corrections or changes to make to either this testimony or any of the responses you gave to those staff information requests?
No, sir.
If you were asked the same questions today that you were previously asked in both the pretrial testimony and information requests, would your responses today on the witness stand be the same?
Yes, they would, sir.
Do you fully reaffirm your testimony and the responses to the staff information requests for which you have previously been responsible for in this case?
Yes, I do.
Now, Mr. Atkins, is it correct that Shelby Energy's current filing shows a phase-in increase percentage for rate B2 of 1%, 0.3%, and then 0.3% in the final year, whereas the B1 rate increase will be phased in equally over the 3 years?
That is correct, sir.
Do you know how that occurred, how that came about?
It was basically the B2 rate was not done in the same fashion as B1 as an oversight on my part, sir.
Do you know whether Shelby Energy would like to change the B2 rate increase so that it will also be equally distributed over the 3 years?
Yes, sir, they would.
And if the commission were to permit this, what would be the financial impact on Shelby Energy?
Financial impact would be the same at the end of the third phase.
Could you provide through post-hearing data information Shelby Energy's preferred method of dealing with this financial impact?
Yes, sir, I would.
I pass the witness for cross-examination, Your Honor.
Mr. Penny, cross-examination.
Just a few questions, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Atkins.
Good morning, sir.
Would you please refer to Exhibit D of the application? This refers to the large power service.
I'm there, sir.
Okay, rate 2 customer charge shows an increase from $52.18 to $70 by phase 3.
Yes, sir.
Will you accept, subject to check, that the results of the third revised cost of service study supports a customer charge for the class of approximately $49?
I will, subject to check, sir.
Okay. Can you explain why Shelby Energy is proposing to increase the customer charge for this rate class?
They're proposing to raise the customer charge because that is the current industry trend among the rural electric cooperatives, and I believe it was supported by the original cost of service study, but not by the amended.
Would you please refer to the application Exhibit 1 and to the responses to staff's second request, item 28, and staff's third request, items 1, 2, and 4. And those all deal with...
You said 2-28?
Yes, sir, and those deal with payroll adjustments and the like of that. We've asked some other questions regarding this to Ms. Martin.
Which one is in the third request?
His third request would be item 4.
4?
And then I'm going to be comparing to the Exhibit 1 of the application.
What page in the third data request, sir?
Mr. Penny, he's asking what page. In
What
the
page?
third-
Oh, I'd say item 4. I'm
Item 4?
asking
Any
my...
page? Any specific page? Part of this we have requested confidentiality on.
It'd be Exhibit 3-1C. So I believe that it's nothing that there. I will not be touching upon any confidential information. And I'm asking for you to explain the assumptions for the payroll adjustment in Exhibit 1 and how they differ from the assumptions contained in 3.1-C. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, in response to question 4, staff's third request. Page 1 of 4.
And is there any specific pages that you wish me to compare, you said?
Mr. Penny?
Yes.
If I might, could you just restate your question?
Okay,
I'm a
there's
little confused.
the assumptions in Exhibit 1 to the application, the payroll adjustments there, and how they differ from the assumptions contained in the response to Item 4, to staff's third request, the payroll adjustments that are contained in that response.
Let me. One is a correction of the other, sir. Basically, we use test year end wage rates, and the actual hours for the year, and apply them for the full year, versus the test year across 2 different salary periods. So, but one was the one in item, data request 3-4 is a corrected one, sir. Still using the same general methodology.
Okay. And still referring to the Item 4 to the third response to the Commission staff's request.
Yes, sir.
Explain why using actual regular hours worked results in a larger adjustment than what was proposed in the application.
The adjustment increase, but because it's a corrected response, sir.
And the next 2 questions I think Commission staff would like in the form of post-hearing data response.
Yes, sir.
One would be to provide the payroll tax adjustments associated with the responses to items 1 and 4
Yes, sir.
of staff's third request. And the other one would be to provide an update to the payroll and payroll tax adjustment for the test year based on a 2.04 increase in non-union payroll and a 2.93% increase for the union payroll.
Yes, sir.
Would you please refer to item 21 of staff, the response to staff's third request, and this regards depreciation.
Data request 3, item 21.
Yes, sir.
I'm there, sir.
Can you briefly explain the process of the Rural Utility Services, or RUS, procedures for changing depreciation rates based upon a depreciation study?
The RUS procedure has been varied over the last 10 years, is my understanding, sir. Up through about 2009, they would review depreciation studies, and for a period of about 5 or 6 years, they did not, because they lost the personnel that did that review for them has left, and since then, they have reviewed some, sir. They have started reviewing, I think, approximately 2 years ago.
And if they do approve proposed depreciation rates, when will they be implemented?
Dependent upon if RUS does, they could be implemented probably the next calendar year, dependent upon the cooperative. But I also know that RUS is dependent upon the regulatory agency of those co-ops that are regulated to have final authority.
And then the Commission staff will ask in the form of a post-hearing data request, and this relates to Exhibit S to the application, just an updated Exhibit S containing the adjustments regarding the depreciation rates. Or, sorry, the adjustments that are included in the exhibit. All adjustments, yes. All right. Do you have any other questions? No further questions, Your Honor.
Commissioner Cicero, questions?
I'm just curious, looking at the cost of service study, the proposal is to go from $10.14 to $15, which is about a 48% increase in the base rate. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Over a three-phase period.
Right. And at that point, it will represent about 43% of what the cost of service study determined for residential customers at $35.20.
Yes, sir.
And then when I look at the general service rate 11, that increase is about 38% in that rate from 1303 to 18, or about 39% of the cost of service study results of 4585. Is there a reason why, when you're looking at, I know residential is always a subsidized entity or group class of ratepayers when it comes to looking at the rates usually by commercial, why would the rate 11 single phase not be increased at the same rate that you're increasing residential?
Normally, it is more expensive for the small commercial because the transformers normally requires a minimum size transformer is normally larger for that class versus the residential.
But in which case, wouldn't the increase be slightly higher than what you've used?
The $18.
The proposed, I'm curious why Shelby Energy wouldn't propose a higher rate for that class to keep more in line with what you're doing. I'm looking at residential as being the revenue generator that Shelby needs, but understanding that their cost of service study determination and the rate that has been proposed, looking at it being 43%, why the single phase rate 11 is only 39%.
Basically, that was a fallout, sir. Was not designed. We looked at what rates they desired based upon the cost of service study, and then we figured the percentage. We didn't apply a percentage to the current rate, sir.
So it became a fallout number, and therefore whatever it was, it was.
It is, yes, sir. And this was, their board of directors had significant input into this rate application, the phase-in, the amount of increase, et cetera, sir.
So what other numbers on here would be a fallout number?
All of them are, sir.
All of them except the residential?
Residential the percentage increase is a fallout number too, sir.
But you have a target revenue. A target revenue, and that's why it's a fallout percentage?
Yes, sir.
I have to think about this before I pursue that line of questioning further. I have no further questions at
Yes,
this
sir.
time.
Mr. Prather, any redirects?
One thing. One of the very first questions, Mr. Adkins, was to compare application Exhibit 1 and then Shelby Energy's response in the second data information, item 31, and then the third data request, question 4, page 1, all having to do with the percentage raise increases of union versus non-union. Could it be that the discrepancy between those exhibits arises out of the fact that one of them was based on a 2,080-hour work week, and the question to staff, questions. The third data information answer, question 4, was based upon actual regular hours worked.
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to clear that up.
Okay.
That's all, Your Honor.
Mr. Penny, additional questions?
Mr. Atkins, I asked you about the large power service and the increase to the customer charge.
B2? Which one? Which?
No, it's a large power service rate 2.
Yes, sir. What about it?
And it doesn't show a higher cost customer charge than one of the cost of service study, but does it require for these large power service rate 2 the building or adding of a substation or any other equipment to serve those customers? I mean, anything to justify the higher customer charge?
Let me take a look at that one real quick, sir. Sir, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Okay, so there's not a substation or a separate transformer that has to be installed for those
Well,
customers?
there's a transformer, but the customer charge is based upon the minimum size for that rate class, sir. And no, there won't be an additional substation added because it doesn't really get to loads that's rate 2 covers, that size loads. Most of those would be in the B1 or B2 category, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Atkins. Your Honor, no further questions from staff.
Commissioner Cicero?
If I have further questions, I'll be in a post-hearing data request.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Prather, anything? You may be excused. Thank you.
Sir.
Any further testimony, Mr. Prather?
No, sir. We're done, sir.
From my count, we have at least, I guess, 15 post-hearing data requests, and one of them, Mr. Prather, I think was yours. You had a voluntary production, I
Yes.
believe.
We'll handle that one, Your Honor.
Okay, if you just supplement it when you file the others, add that or note it. If, Mr. Penny, can staff have the post-hearing data requests that would desire Shelby to respond to completed and served upon Mr. Prather by the end of the day on June 20th, which is next Tuesday?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you get those next Tuesday, Mr. Prather, could you get them done in 8 days, Wednesday, June 28th, or do you need some additional time?
Your Honor, Shelby Energy's annual member meeting would fall within that time frame. If possible, if we could have until June 30th, that would help a lot.
That's fine, and you can file your the post-hearing data request or the responses by June 30.
Thank you.
Mr. Prather, do you intend to file a brief?
No, Your Honor.
All right, if that's the case, is there anything further, Mr. Prather or Mr. Penny, that you'd like to bring to the attention of the commission?
No, Your Honor.
If not, then this hearing is adjourned. Thank you very much.